Okay, guys. I was just sitting here thinking about some things. It actually brought tears to my eyes. And the story I'm about to tell you may be strange and somewhat unbelievable, but it's the truth. I'm going to show you a boat that I've designed and tell you a story about it. You'll have to forgive me. I've been in the middle of designing a new sail for it because I'm using a better material. This was originally made out of umbrella material, but I'm just going to set this up very quickly and you'll be able to see a little bit of what it is and what I'm doing here will become apparent shortly. Now what you can see here is a sailboat that I've built from scratch. It's twin keel, stern keel, what they call a split stern keel. Flat bottom. She's a unique design, my own, from start to scratch. And I'm going to share with you this design. I won't share with you my sail design in this, but you see the way this is mounted to the mast? Okay? You can see this has only got a couple of attachment points and that the whole thing pivots on this point like a weather vane. Okay, I'm going to put this away now and I'll be right back. The story I tell is a simple one, you see. A story, simple as hell. It's a tale of the sea and piracy. It's a tale from the devil be. This tale isn't like what you'll see. It's nothing you'll expect. But it's the truth, every word, you bet. Just as much as I have that boat, it sits in front of me each day. I built it with my own hands, eh? Well, so too I tell the story of a man, hundreds of years before me, but a man like me. A Robinson, it turns out. His name was Edward Teach. Those of you who have heard of him will know that he is Blackbeard the pirate. Those of you who don't, well, I now tell a legendary tale. A tale of a man unlike any other. A unique man in history. A powerful, fearsome man. Like a king. Brutal, but not a tyrant. A decent man. A king. So I'm going to show you this thing that I have, that I bring with me everywhere I go. Now, there are a lot of people who will tell you different tales about this. It's about a coin. And a man. The man is Blackbeard the pirate. Now, on one side, you'll see it's Roman B. On the other side, Spanish. A reel, you'll say. This is a Spanish reel. But nay. Now, it is very, very similar to a Spanish reel. Very similar, in fact. And this side is Spanish in nature. This side is actually Roman, even though there was a Spanish one that looked just like it. It didn't quite have the same face as this. I have shown this coin to coin collectors many times, and to various people, and they all, when having it in their actual hands, fail to identify it. In pictures, they always say they can identify it because they can't see all the detail. It looks so much like a silver coin from a certain area, 1400s, and it is. But this coin is unique, you see. It was one of the true pieces of 8. Now see, these coins became to be called pieces of 8, partly because they were split into 8s as currency. In the old days, it was quite common to cut coins into quarters and 8s, and to use those as currency. It was easier than carrying change for silver pieces to buy something that was very cheap. You would usually use copper or tin pieces, but in this case, that would be like 100 silver pieces. So, or whatever it was, I can't remember exactly. Long story short, I'm going to show you some things. Now that coin I've showed you, I'm going to give you a brief history on. And that ship I've showed you, I'm going to give you a brief history on. So we'll start with the ship. I showed it to you first. I'll tell that to you first. So this ship, you see, was inspired by Blackbeard B. I've told you he was a Robinson. Well, I too am a Robinson, and this is how I know. And it is a story of woe. So Edward Teach was born. The day doesn't matter, for it was a day like any other, save for the fact that he was born on it. It doesn't matter the name of his ship, but it does. You might say, oh, the Black Pearl. You idiot. No. No, he had a few ships, in fact, in his career, and they were quite well known. And so I will tell you that it's well known that the very first ship he had, he built himself. What's less known is that it has been lost to history. In the 80s, there was a French expedition that went after this ship. My father showed it to me. He was into treasure hunting and doing a variety of things and talked to a lot of people in treasure hunting circles. And he got this footage from one of the crew who was actually on board the ship. And what they had done is they had gone looking for Blackbeard's first ship. It was small. He built it himself. He designed the sail plan and the rigging himself. He famously executed the builder of his next ship for failing to build it according to his requirements, because no one believed him that it would work. Yo, I built the ship. It works. The sail plan you see there is a copy of his. That's where I got it from. See, this French team, they dove on a wreck that they said couldn't possibly be the ship because it was in far too good a condition. But had they done the research on that particular area, had they known what is now known scientifically about that area, they would have known what I know, that water is incredible at preserving vessels. In fact, it's the best in the world. So they should have expected that vessel to be in better condition than any other vessel in the world of its type. And it was. So much so that even I had trouble believing when I saw the footage that it was that ship. Only I have an advantage over them. You see, my family, the Robinson family, holds archives which are ancient. We've been keeping records for thousands of years, and we continue to do so today. In that record is Blackbeard's diary. Now, it is well known that 3 of our family members did capture his ship and him along with them. See, we were merchants and had been recruited for war and for fighting piracy. And we were pirate hunters, B. We hunted him, see. And when we captured him, found his true identity, and let him go. Because what they found him doing wasn't entirely criminal, and they listened to his story, which I will tell now. Or at least, I'll begin to. I may not have time, it's going to be a long story. But I don't think I should. I think you should do some research and find out what you could. Verify what I'm telling you. And ask me questions if you want, and I'll answer them. We'll go into it together. So, I'm going to tell you the story of the ship. So I read this Bible, it looks like to me, only it's not. It's excerpts from a book. Only it was the Bible I followed to build that ship. It was his own journal, taken from his ship on the night my family captured it. My family wouldn't release to me the book, said it would never leave the archives no matter what I did. But I begged and pleaded. And because of my love of sailing and the fact that I had just gotten my captain's papers, broken the world record in doing so, I'm the youngest captain on record, you can look me up. I was racing at the time, Dart class catamarans. They're small, nothing but a trampoline and a sail, but the fastest thing in the world at the time. I love to sail. The sea is in me. It's in my blood. Many things are, but the sea is the star. It's the thing that shines brightest for me. It always has. It's what I want to do. It's where I want to be. He was like me, a man of the sea. And so, I want to officially thank him in a way. I want to put it out there that this design, as great as it is, isn't just mine. I'm about to revolutionize sailing with this design. It's unique. There's nothing in the world like it. It's fully auto-tacking. It doesn't blow over in storms. It's 1/12 scale and took a full 30 knots of wind to even make it fully heel over to the same 23-degree heeling angle that most vessels have, at most. This is one such vessel. It'll heel over to about that. But that's about it. It really doesn't go any farther than that without extreme provocation. And by that, I mean hurricane force winds of hundreds of knots, which is pretty impressive. In fact, it just goes faster And the more wind you put on it, the faster it goes. It cuts the waves beautifully and travels well. The hull design is my own, nothing to do with him. I'd go to hell if I told a lie. I believe that. I don't want to lie about this. I'm not that sort. Everything I'm about to tell you is true. The man inspired me. See, when I saw first the diary, I was like 11, 12. I was working as a local house pilot, getting ready to go for my captain's papers, racing on the weekends, and loving it. And so because of my love of the sea and my begging, they took a couple of photocopies of pages they thought I might find interesting from this man's diary. And I did. More than interesting, incredible, and fascinating. There were diagrams of his rigging, which I've not copied. In fact, I went out of my way to design my own. I didn't want to copy him too hard. I just wanted to draw inspiration from it, partly because the mast setup he designed had been used on some Chinese ships, but a lot of people have themselves convinced nowadays that it's really not the best rig. In point of fact, it is. It's actually the very best rig that's ever been created anywhere. And because of that, Blackbeard used it in his design, only his design is unique and works much better than the Chinese ships. Their designs work very well. They keep quite large and cumbersome vessels, quite maneuverable. They're easily deployed even by a fairly small crew. And they do well no matter which direction the wind is coming from. You can pretty much just sail whichever direction you want to go with these types of rigs. In fact, one of the legendary occurrences for Blackbeard that most people don't even believe turns out to be true. That boat will travel into the wind. It has almost a no dead angle. You could travel into the wind with only the tiniest degree of angle from the nose, and it'll travel true and straight, with no need to tack. In fact, there were instances where he was said to do this. No, where everybody else had to do that, and because he did this, and the winds were fairly light, they had no chance of catching him. It took them too long to turn, and even though they had a powerful navy, they vastly outnumbered and outgunned him. They could never get in range. They could get close enough to see him, but as soon as he saw them, don't forget, in his smaller ship, their sails would have been easily visible on the horizon long before his was to them. And he would have pulled away. They'd have been lucky to see him at all, and if they did, it was through a spyglass. Well, that's a legendary story, only it's not just told by some guy like me. No, it was apparently written down by the entire crew of every one of the dozen ships that was there blockading that harbor that day. In fact, it was the reason no one was executed over it, because usually a failure like that would have been seen as them letting him go. Nobody wanted to believe their story. Even to this day, it's not officially believed that this was the case. Well, I can prove that it is. That this ship is capable of it because I've built it, and it does it. So, in the next video, I will tell you the tale of this man some more, and the tale of his coin. On this YouTube channel, you'll see video of me designing various forms of the hulls, a brief description of how the sail system works. I'm doing that because even though I filed concept patents for it, and they were patentable to this day, I feel pretty guilty about that. Because while it will be known as my design, and I have come up with it first, I could never really do it alone. Now mine is unique. It's being auto-tacking is my own design. His was certainly not. His was easy to sail by old standards, but hard to sail by modern standards. Mine is easy to sail even by modern standards, and really is meant to be the very best of the old school with the very best of the new school. And it is. Only when I found the very best of the old school, it was a ship designed by a pirate, and his name was Blackbeard. I don't call him Edward Teach anymore. I call him by his full name, Edward Teach Robinson. That's what I was told his full name is. In fact, he changed his name to Edward Teach to conceal the very fact that he was a Robinson. It's one of the reasons my family let him go. Keitha.